All right, everybody, welcome to the Self-Care Rockstar Show, where each week I invite experts from around the world to share stories and information that will help you begin and continue your self-care journey. My goal is to encourage each of you to become self-care rock stars and to not only fill your cup, but cause it to overflow. If you're interested in any programs I'm currently offering, you can go to findsally.com and click on schedule a call or email me at sally@theselfcarerockstar.com. I would love to work with you. And today I am excited to welcome Whitney Wiley to the Rockstar stage. Whitney is the owner of Shifting into Action. She is the author of, I was counting on Amazon, I think there were 11 books on there. And she has a podcast called Life, Lemons, and Lemon Drops. And today we're going to talk a little bit about feeling invisible and becoming invincible. But before we do that, Whitney, why don't you just share with everybody who you are, what you're about, and just what's going on with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Sally, it's an honor to be here. Some of those books you are in with me. So we are fellow authors, and I'm a wife, a mother, and I'd like to think that I'm like your best friend or an aunt or someone that people just seem to gravitate to. And what I love is sharing, teaching, and being someone who is an ear and listener for others. And that's sort of what got me on my journey to being a coach and a consultant, and ultimately writing books, is that I have these experiences with people who are sharing things, and then I can step into my life. I like to think that I share wisdom that from the things that I've learned in my life, the things that I've been through. And I'm a huge believer that lessons are meant to be shared. And when we share them, they allow us to step into and fill our purpose. And so, the things that I am, like a lawyer and a former lobbyist, those things don't define me. I think being someone who is of service is what defines me. Someone who's about loving, giving, and service. And I feel like that's my purpose here on earth. And when I combine that, and I love the premise of your show, the self-care rock star, that when we take care of ourselves, we can then help others to do the same, right? We can give of ourselves. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to take care of yourself so that you can live your purpose. And when you live your purpose, you help other people to step into theirs as well. So I'd like to think that that's who I am as a person. And then the other stuff, the titles, the author, coach, that stuff. Love it. What I do sort of in the work that I do is I help women make transitions in their career. So career transition, career management transition coach, helping women, particularly in corporate world, to sort of avoid burnout and then put together a plan, a strategy, so that they can move out of that. And I come from a place where that's where I was, right? I was in a career that wasn't serving me any longer, and made some very decided, decisions to make a change. And when I made that, I was like, you know what? I know a lot of people that could use this. That want to do this, but don't know what to do, right? We often are in jobs, and we go from job to job because one job isn't working for us anymore, but not necessarily being proactive in pursuing what we want. And as a coach, we're often running from something rather than running to something. And that's what I want to help people do, is to dream again, to think about what it is they really want, and then move towards that rather than run from something.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I was talking with Linda today, and she's like, I've known Sally for like 2 years, and I'm like, Linda, I said, I met you when we did the One Habit book. You know? I said that wasn't even a year ago, and I met you. I mean, the first time I met you, you interviewed me. So this has come full circle. So this is great. I love it.
It has. It has. I love the circles that we're in, right?
Yeah.
And the people that we are honored and privileged to be connected to, because we are all doing the same thing. It's just trying to make the world a better place. And each one of us has our role in helping that to happen.
Yeah, I know. That's great. So I met Whitney when we did the One Habit for Entrepreneurial Success, and that's where I met Linda too. And it's been a journey. I mean, this
Oh
whole
my God, it is almost exactly a year.
right.
That
It's
was,
just
I
I
think
think
that
it was
book
like
launched in
October.
October.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And and we were getting together and doing our little Zoom meetings, before the book launch, and
Yeah.
tell us about what we were going to do. And so, I mean, that's where I met all you guys, and it's been, and to think that's like it's not even a year,
I
and
know.
it feels like I mean, some of you,
It feels like a lifetime, right?
yeah,
It's
it's
like
like
we've known
wow,
each other always.
and it's that I think it's that I don't know what it is. It's something about that kindred spirit that we
Yes.
connect with people. I mean, and I felt it with you right away, and I felt it with Linda. And there's so many people that are part of this world, this thing that we're a part of. That
I think it's what is called synchronicity, or something along that line, right? It's just like we're vibing. It's a vibe. We're on a frequency, and you're connecting with people on the same frequency. And then and I think the thing is that we're not separate. We're all one, right? We're all interconnected, all interdependent. And so we come and you just sort of fit, and it's like, okay, it's like we've been here along because we're part of the same stuff.
right, right. But for a long time, I felt invisible before that.
No, yeah,
And
yeah,
not being part of anything. And I think that's where so many people are. They're in that
absolutely,
space of, all right, where do I belong? Where
absolutely.
so what would you say to someone who's feeling, I mean, in the book that Whitney and I were just part of is called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And we talk about that feeling of invisibility.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think I don't know if I'll speak for myself. I feel like invisibility is about not being fully who you are, right? And so we come here, we're born, our parents, well-meaning, loving us, are doing the best they can with what they have, with what they know. Society is like putting demands on us, putting conditions, restrictions. Our parents do that so that we fit in, right? And it starts to dampen who we really are at our core, in our spirit. And when we then take that on, the person that we were born to be, created to be, is not so much doesn't exist, but just is buried under all these layers of stuff. And again, it's well-meaning stuff, but it doesn't serve us really. And I think about this in terms of career development, and you think about conversations that parents have with their children. Children as they're growing up, they always have these grand ideas about what they want to be, right? And sometimes when those things are not practical, right? Being an artist, a dancer, a musician, parents are, well, you need to get, training and get a real job and train for something practical that's going to pay the bills. And we're in a stage in the development of humanity where you can make a living doing absolutely anything, right? People make a living, make money renting their houses out, driving cars. So how could you say that, and there are plenty of people who make money acting other people, right? In movies, television shows, on stages and plays, people who make money playing musicians in bands and in orchestras. And so when we stop putting our dreams and limitations on other people and let them develop who they are and live their dreams, right? Then we don't have this invisibility issue. So if that has happened to you, then it's a choice to say, you know what? I don't want to live my life this anymore. Want to live my life this way anymore. And I'm just going to start peeling off the layers, right? And you don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to jump out on some grand stage. You don't have to be a public speaker. You don't have to be anything except be you, which means getting in touch with what makes your soul sing, what makes you want to get up in the morning and just go. Monday is dreaded, right? It's the most dreaded day of the week. People spend their lives looking forward to Friday. And I used to be one of those people. And that's where when I look back, I was invisible in my work. I was a lawyer and a lobbyist. I was talking to people who make decisions, the decision makers in the state of California. I'm in hearings with the governor and legislators, and talking with other people who are the movers and shakers and make policy happen. But that wasn't about me. And it wasn't something that made my soul sing. And after a while, it's like, well, yeah, it's a really good job, but it's not where I want to be. I want to have a voice. I want to be able to make a difference in people's lives directly. Whether it's one-on-one or one-to-many teaching. I just got hired as a professor, an adjunct professor. I'm working on that somewhere else. I love teaching. I love coaching. I love helping people be who they want to be. And that wasn't happening there. And so I felt, and here's a really interesting thing, Sally, is at the time I didn't know that I was invisible. It wasn't till sort of looking back and connecting the dots about how I felt that I was like, wow, I spent a lot of years really not having my own voice. I was speaking for someone else. So I didn't get to go, and I didn't do my job on a daily basis talking about what I thought about the things that I was talking about, because what I thought didn't matter. What I cared about, the subject that I was working on, didn't matter. I was the voice for someone else. And when I separated from that a little over 3 years ago, I was like, wow, you really didn't have a voice. But I didn't think of it as invisibility because I was out there, right? I was there, and people saw me and they heard me speaking. And it dawned on me that was something that ultimately I held on to because I was afraid of switching and actually sharing my voice. And so it was a process. It took time. It started with writing. No one sees me writing, right? So I was writing. I wrote for a magazine for almost 7 years. I would be on stage speaking, sharing my thoughts about the things that I wrote about and the things that I cared about. But it wasn't until I left that world where everything I do now, and it was a decision, everything I do are things that I want to do that allow me to express who I am as a giver, as a teacher, as a coach. Those are the things that matter to me. And I think that when You who are listening, the audience is listening. If you find yourself in a place where you feel like I have something to say, but I don't have a platform where I am to say it, you don't have to necessarily leave that place right now or ever. Just find a place where you can go, a platform. The beauty of where we are in the world is YouTube, right? Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, all of these are opportunities for us to step into who we are, and share our stories, which make a tremendous difference to other people, sharing what you've been through and being vulnerable so that other people can say, oh, I'm not alone, which is what happens in the book, right? There are 29 of us and we're not alone, right? And so there are 29 of us. The book is published and hundreds of people are buying it, and they're resonating with one or more stories in the book, and they're like, oh, I'm not alone. And then they share it and someone else gets to say, oh, I'm not alone. And we're not alone. We're all interconnected. We're all one. And there's just bits and pieces of all the things that are happening in life, and we all get bits and pieces of that. But together, we have the opportunity to do something really special and different.
Yeah. I think as women, we're kind of nurturers, and we lose our identity sometimes because we're, so-and-so's wife, Amanda's mother,
Mm.
I'm the daughter, I'm the employee, I'm the, and so we're always like somebody else's person, and we're not our own person. And I think that lends a lot to the invisibility.
That's true. That's
Because
true.
we feel like, well, who am I? Where do I fit in? Where do my feelings or my, I got to do this for this one, and I got this going on and this going on, and where do I fit in? Am I
Right.
invisible in all of this?
Right. I think that if we just flip that around a little bit, we can still be in service to those people. We can still be wife, mother, daughter, friend. We can still be all of those things, but we step back and be whole and complete first, right? We're whole and complete, and then make the decision to serve, to love, to give. And when it comes out of that place of wholeness, then the things that happen when we are doing it more out of obligation don't happen. The overwhelm, the being burnt out, overburdened, feeling martyred, feeling unappreciated, unseen, unheard, unloved. Be you first. Fill your cup, like you said, and then serve from the overflow. So, for me, that comes from my relationship with God, and understanding how I fit into the universe, right? You are, Mary is, the others who are listening or watching. We are, the odds that we are here at this moment in time, who we are, from the parents that we come from, they've calculated to be a 1 in 400 trillion. Really, 1 in 400 trillion chance that you would be exactly as you are with all the things that led to you in this moment. There are only like 7+ billion people on the planet, right? So it would take a lot of time for you to be duplicated. And so when we stop and think about how unique we are, and that we don't need to fit into anyone else's box, we simply need to be who we are and trust in who we are, and then give from that place, from wholeness, it becomes joy. it becomes joy to give rather than like, here I got to go pick up, make another trip or, 5 trips, carting kids around from one event to another. And it just changes the perspective. It's a reframe, but it comes from taking care of you first. And I know women are often feeling like, if I do that, I'm selfish, and that there's a problem with that. And again, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're always drained, if you're always feeling put upon, it's really difficult to do what you want to do, which is to nurture. That is our nature, right? Is to nurture. But if you are feeling like you can't because you don't have the energy, you don't have the drive, the motivation, whatever it is, just step back a little bit and try it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It comes down to loving ourselves first. And that's one of the things that, Dolores Garcia and I have in common is, her thing is fly.
Fly,
First,
yeah.
first love yourself. And, in the whole self-care rock star. And it's, what you've got to have that self-love,
Yes,
that self-care first, because otherwise
absolutely.
you're not going to get anything done.
No, no,
And like you said, you get frustrated because it's like, all right, I got to do this stuff. I got to do, as opposed to saying, you know what, I want to do something.
exactly.
I'm just so, I'm filled, I'm overflowing, and I'm gonna just give from.
You've got so much, you're like, oh my God, I gotta give. Right? I've got to do, I've got all this energy, I've got all this life, this love, this joy inside of me. If I don't give it, I'm gonna burst or whatever. So, and which is a very different place than feeling like dragging out of bed. And this morning, we were talking before the show. I don't normally do stuff on Sundays, and try not to do anything on weekends. And I've set up my business. I really try to be done by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon during the week. And so, but this weekend, I happen to have a client that their board meetings are on Sunday for whatever reasons they've made that happen. And so this was the Sunday that I'm doing some training for them. But when I got out of bed this morning, I didn't roll out of bed. It's like, it's Sunday and I'm working. I jumped out of bed. I was like, oh my God, I get to do this board training with these people. And they're fabulous. It's a wonderful board on the East Coast. And so, to be able to jump out of bed every day and be excited about what I do and who I serve and how I get to serve them, that does not come from not taking care of myself first, right? Not putting myself first. When I was in my the last role that I had, working for someone else, I was dragging out of bed every morning. Mondays were painful, and it started on Sunday, right? When it's like, oh my God, tomorrow's Monday, and I got to go in. So I don't think we have to live that way. I don't think we were created to live that way, to dread any day of the week, but to be joy filled. Now, does that mean that each and everything you do always is going to be fun or your favorite thing to do? No, and I'm not unrealistic in that, but you can still do it out of a place of joy inside of you, a place of gratitude out of you, and ultimately get to a place where you can be energetic and joy filled and take that into everything you do, whether it's cooking or taking kids from activity to activity, or just sitting, right? Which is one of those things that I think we also don't give ourselves a lot of permission to do, which is just to be. Like, go sit outside, go sit in the park and just be even if it's only for 5 minutes. Get some sunshine, watch the wind blow the trees, and that's self-care too, right?
Yes.
A
Yeah.
little moment of silence, that's self-care. And wherever you can get it, it's important to get it.
So what's the first thing you think we should be doing if we're in that rut, or we're in that space, and we want to make that shift into, being invincible, and finding that passion for life that
Mm.
we've been missing because we got to do the laundry. Got to pay those bills.
So I think it starts with vision. What is it that you want? How do you see your life? Start with that. How do you see it? What do you want? How does what you want feel? Right? When you if you could snap your fingers and live your life just the way you want it, what would it feel like? Right? And it would feel free and fun, and it would be fulfilling, and you would be doing the things for your family, for your friends, for yourself that you enjoy, right? So you start there with a vision for your life. And then I think you start to put the pieces together with your values and your priorities. What are you valuing? And when you make a list of what's important to you, your values and your priorities, and you take your vision and you start to put these pieces together, then you can start to see where things are not that, right? So you've got to understand where you are. You've got to have clarity about where it is you want to go. And then you can start to see how you can move towards where you want to go. But if you don't know where you want to go, then it's really difficult to get there,
Yeah.
right? If I live in Sacramento, California, if I wanted to go, if I said to my husband, I want to go on a road trip, and he says, well, where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know. Well, then he could point the car anywhere, right? And I wouldn't be able to complain when we arrived somewhere because I didn't know where I wanted to go. And so he just drove. That's sort of how our lives are going. We don't know where we want to go. And so we're just sort of going. And the really sad part is we're going and going and going. It's wearing us down, right? And we're feeling burnt out, and like life is always coming at us. And because you don't know where you're going. And maybe you already accomplished what you wanted, but you don't know that. Right? So get a vision, get clarity about what it is you want, how you want your life to look and feel. Have this vision, set a goal, and then start to think about the things that you can do to get there. And so, for example, the thing when I sort of came to a place in my life, I was really unhappy. I was angry. I had gone through a divorce, and I was angry, and there was contention still, and we'd been apart for years, but there was still like this tension. And one day I was like, I just want peace in my life. I just want peace. And when I came to that, and then I had to think about, well, what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And it was that I would be able to wake up in the morning and not feel stressed, right? And it didn't come right away, but as I thought about it, the answers of what I wanted started to get clearer. I started meditating. I would wake up in the morning and say my gratitudes for another day, another opportunity, meditation, getting some exercise in, visualization, affirmations, the things that, I set up this routine that put me on a path and set an intention for the day so that as I moved through the day, I knew what I was working towards, right? And I was working towards being at peace, which meant when people were coming at me, I'm a lawyer, I'm a lobbyist, it's a lot of, contention and argument and stuff as part of that. And I'm like, well, how do I respond to that? Right. And maintain my peace. So once you know what you want, then it makes it possible for you to understand how you need to respond to things as they come, as life comes at you. And so start there and then be okay with, I think a couple of things are really important. Being patient with yourself on this journey, giving yourself grace that you're not going to do it perfectly, and that's okay. And then give yourself permission to just sit sometimes, to be okay with doing nothing. A lot of women, particularly career women, feel like if they're not doing something, then they're moving backwards. And so just give yourself permission to sit, to be silent. I have done silent retreats where, for extended periods of time, no talking, no TV, no radio, and just listen. The answers are within us, but we have to give the answers an opportunity. They have to give space. And if you'll do that, you'll find out everything you need to know, the directions, the steps to take. I can tell you what to do all day long. Sally can tell you what to do all day long. But until you hear the answers within you for yourself and bring those out, you're probably not going to follow them, right? So we can say this, but when you get to the place where you go, oh, Sally's right. Sally's been saying that on her program. Sally's right. Or in the coaching program or whatever. And you'll go, yeah, okay, I get it. Because you made the time and space to hear, to listen, to feel what it is you need for you.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that Forbes Riley does, I don't know if you've ever seen in one of her training, she'll say to you, okay, what do you want? She did that to me one time, and you're not allowed to say, I don't know. And you got to come up with an answer and you can't repeat anything.
And then keep asking that question. Right. And then why?
Right.
And then the why.
What do you want?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want? And
yeah.
So, it really, though, it makes you think, because I think so many people out there are just wandering around and have no idea what they want. They have no idea. And then
because we're not allowed to want, right? We're made to feel guilty for wanting something other than what we have. And you can do both. You can be grateful for what you have and still want something else.
Yeah. I wanted to just go back a little bit, and we were talking earlier about going after our passion and something that we really enjoy doing, and we were saying, well, a lot of times those don't pay the bills. So does that mean, though, that we shouldn't be following those things because they're not lucrative in the money aspect? But I think a lot of times people get discouraged from doing that because of that. So they stop doing things that they love because it's not going to pay the bills.
But how do you know it's not going to pay the bills?
Right.
How do you know? Right. And so here's the thing. You can leave your job and launch into your passion and see what happens. Or you can continue doing what you're doing, do your passion, let it build up, and that's part of listening for answers. So you can ask the question, how can this, pay my bills? How can this provide a living? How can this keep a roof over my head? Ask the questions. Again, who knew that, 20 years ago that you could rent your house out and make money, right? And nobody did that. Or Airbnb hadn't been invented until Airbnb was invented. Uber hadn't been invented until Uber was invented. So that someone hasn't made money at it yet doesn't mean money can't be made at it. maybe you're the one, maybe someone else has got the same dream and they're working through it at the same time. But you don't give up because it's not making you money. So stay where you are, do what you have to do, and pursue your passion at the same time, and look for opportunities to monetize it. There are all kinds of things that you can do, from teaching, what it is to, who knows. So
that's the key. I think is looking for the opportunities, and taking action when you get an opportunity.
absolutely.
A lot of times opportunities come along and you think, oh, I can't do that. I'm
Right.
not good enough for that yet, or whatever. And you don't, and then you hear that somebody else with less time and less talent took and did it. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I could have done that. Well, you had the opportunity and you didn't,
I have an example of that. I invented this thing years ago. I won't say what it is because I'm not trying to give somebody else credit for it. And they haven't done it exactly the way I did it. So it's still a possibility. But I was coming home one day and I wish I'd had this thing. I was coming home from the grocery store and I was like, God, I wish I had this thing that would make this easier. I got home and I whipped it up, crude, right? And made it with needle and a needle and thread and whatnot. And then I was talking to some people and they said, oh, that's such a good idea. I've often needed that. I talked to someone who actually knows how to sew. So went off to create like a real prototype so that I could do this thing. And then it sort of fell by the wayside. Other things happened, life, and so sort of got put on the back burner. I was in the store one day and I was like, that's my idea, right? All right. And so, who knew, right? Again, not exactly what I had in mind, but it was moving in that direction. And so you just never know. And so just keep putting YouTube, right? It is filled with people making money doing all kinds of things. Some people are making livings and beyond, some people barely scratching by. But the point is they are pursuing things that excite them, that they're passionate about, and they are creating opportunities for themselves to be able to do what they want. Coaches and teachers and whatever it is, just put your whole heart into it, and then ask for the wisdom, for insight, for opportunities to see things as they're coming along. And before you know it, then, and be willing, here's the other thing, Sally, be willing to not have to have it all come from that one thing. It is another thing that you can do, right? I call what I do before I left my job pieces of a dream. I've got several income streams and all things that I like doing. I don't do anything anymore that I don't like or don't want to do. But I've got different things that I'm doing that allow me to put, pieces of money together and, everything works out. And so you've got to trust in yourself. You've got to trust the process. You've got to be patient, right? It's really important to be patient as part of the process, but not to give up. You've got to be persistent in that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love, we were talking about, doing what we want and creating that vision.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision board, or do you?
I do. I have several. There's one on my desktop. And then I have another one, an actual physical one. So I do, and it includes things like how I want to feel, where I want to be, where I want to work, how I want to work. It's got a vineyard on it. I want to, and you can see back here, that's not a vision board, but those are pictures those are my pictures. I'm a photographer. That's another source of income. And so that's vineyards. I want to own a winery someday. So that it's part
I'm coming to your house.
it's part of the vision and the plan of the future. So
Yeah. So have you had any of your visions that are on your vision board come true?
yes. So here's the very first thing that came, not quite the way I had envisioned it, which goes to being clear, really clear about what your vision is. But one of them was to be a cover girl. To be on the cover of a magazine, right? Not like makeup cover girl, although that could have been cool too. And then a couple of months later, I actually was on the cover of a magazine. So Leah Woodford, I don't know if you know Leah, she's got Smart Femme magazine. I was at a mastermind group there in Tennessee a couple of years ago. And there was a picture that was taken and then she ran this article about masterminds and she used the picture from that. So I was on the cover of a magazine. I am a cover girl, but there was a lesson in there about being really clear about what you ask for and how you ask for it, because you get what you ask for. You may not always get what you want, but you will get what you ask for. So you need to make sure when you're asking for what you want that you're really clear about what it is you want. So I'm happy to be on the cover. That is still on my vision board. It will happen for something else at the appropriate time. So yeah.
Well, it's funny, about 5 or 6 years ago, I painted a painting, and it was just a giant flower. And on the center, I have God written, and every petal I have things that I want to happen, and I have it hanging in my kitchen, and it's been there for about 4 or 5 years. And I was just looking at it the other day, and I was like, wow, like most of these things have come true. And it's just this past year, because it was like have exciting new friends, write a book, I mean, there's like so many of them, and I'm looking at, I'm reading, and I'm like, wow, it didn't happen right away. It took a while, but a lot of these have happened.
Absolutely. And they will. You just have to be clear about what it is you want, put it out there. And then you've got to open your eyes for when they happen. So again, like you mentioned, I wanted to be a writer. Initially, I got an invitation to be a contributing columnist for a magazine, hard copy magazine, subscription magazine, goes all around the world. And initially I was like thinking, well, I'm not going to do that. I don't have anything to say in writing a magazine column every month. Where am I going to find the words? Who wants to read what I have to say every month? Blah, blah, blah. And it was my sister and husband was like, this is the opportunity that you've been talking about. What are you talking about? Right? Because in my head, I was thinking book. I wasn't thinking magazine, but it started with the magazine. The magazine columns are going to be my first solo book. And as I've been working on that, the opportunities for the collaboration books came along. And so I was like, well, I want to be a best-selling author. I'm thinking my own solo book. Well, it's not ready, and opportunities for other things came along. Those opportunities have led me to be connected with fabulous people all over the world, right? So, which has led to other collaborations and business ventures with other people that wouldn't have happened if I had not been open to opportunities as they presented themselves. So yes, you have to be clear, you know what you want, but you also have to be open and flexible that there may be something else better for you right now. And if what you want is for you, eventually, like you said, it could take time, but eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, and taking the action when
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, the FedEx guy drops off packages, but he doesn't really deliver things that you want to do in life. That's not how that works. So,
exactly. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us today before we head out?
oh, you know, I would just say that if you have not gotten your copy of the book, Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, that it is really filled with the stories of women who will, I think, touch you in a way that helps you, one, see that you're not alone. That when you step into who you are, your real power, your superpower, as people like to say, it emanates from the authenticity of who you are. And so just step into that, own that. If you're not sure who you are or what you're about because of all the labels, right? All the other labels, just take the time, sit in silence, give yourself permission to do that. Be okay with setting aside, hiding in the bathroom if you have to. I'm, you know, blessed at this point in my life. It's just my husband and I in the house, and so quiet time is pretty easy for me. But I recognize that's not the case for everyone, particularly with littles around. But create a space. You know, share babysitting duties with friends or families or neighbors so that you can get a little time so that you can just sit in silence and listen. Listen to the answers to the questions that you have. Write them down. I write every day. I do a practice called morning pages. And so, you know, write down your questions and then wait for the answers.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Now, have you had people reach out to you because of your chapter in the book?
Yeah, I have. I have. Yeah. And you know, really a blessing to have people that have read our book, read all the books that I'm in, and to reach out and be grateful that I shared my story, that I shared a little bit of me. And often people will say, oh, I didn't know that about you. There are people that I know, right? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess not.
Now you know.
So
Yeah. My story was very common. It's just something that a lot of people, and I've had so many people just say to me, "Well, yeah, that happened to me too, but I've never said anything, or I never shared that before." And, I just love that, especially about this book.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I think it's pretty special that people reach out to us and thank us for sharing and say, oh, I would never, oh, you're so strong. And it's not about being strong. I've got a couple of things that drive me in that respect. One is a speech by Les Brown, who talks about dying without living your purpose, right? If you don't, that we are cheating other people, right? That they need there's somebody out there that needs something from each of us that they can't get anywhere else. Whatever that is, the alignment of God, the universe, whatever it is, and they can only get that thing from you. And so if you don't do what you're supposed to do, if you don't live your purpose, if you don't share your story, if you don't share your gifts, your talents, then somebody else misses out. And you have no idea who that is. It may be your kids, it may be your family, extended family, friend. It could be someone across the world that you've never met before. And if you don't share who you are, that's why it's so important to be in touch with the authentic you, and be vulnerable, then someone misses out. And I don't want to be the reason that someone misses out. So, my story, the things I've been through, the things I've learned, more important than the things I've been through, but what I've learned from those things, I feel like are for me to share. Holding them to myself, keeping them to myself doesn't help anybody. And it doesn't help me either. So
yeah, I love that. So I'm going to open it up. Mary, do you have any questions?
No, but boy, did this resonate.
awesome.
I love my job and I love what I do. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't really have any further goal career-wise. But of late, I've found the one thing missing is the contact. I work in medical. So is the contact with people, which kind of evolved away from me. And as it did, I realized that is the part of what I do that I loved. And so it's given me a lot to think about how I can get that piece of joy, why I went into this profession, back. So,
Is that on the natural? Is that piece not coming back because of the pandemic, or is there something else behind that?
corporate transition mostly.
Okay. Yeah. So when there's something that we want or need, and what a beautiful place for you to be in your career, where you're like, I don't need to aspire to anything else. I love my work and I'm good here. But if there's ever a piece that's missing, being able to recognize what that is, which a lot of people can't really put their finger on it. So what a blessing for you to know what that is. And then figure out how you can get that somewhere else, right? So that you have that connection with people that you need, and then do what you're doing. And, maybe that involves a transition, maybe it doesn't, right? But you ultimately, you get to decide, and you can figure out, I think if you just ask the question, how can I get this connection piece back? Where can I find this connection piece? You ask that question, that the answers for that will come to you.
And for me, I think I've had the realization tonight that it doesn't necessarily need to be from where my finances are being met. It can be outside of that, and maybe doesn't need to be something that's profitable, just fulfilling.
Absolutely. And again, the beauty of having something that you enjoy, right? Whereas there are people who they can't stand their job. And so if you're going to leave your job, why not do something that you really love and enjoy? But if you love what you're doing, or enjoy it, or like it, or happy with it, and there's something else that you don't have to have everything you do bring money to you. You can just enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it.
Yeah. Perfect way to end everything. Thank you so much, Whitney, for being here tonight. And I will see you on the self-care Rockstar stage again soon, I hope. But thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.